Hi, good evening. Welcome to another episode in our CEO series here on YouTube. So it's my pleasure today to speak with the CEO of Spur Spices Limited. We're gonna be able to, hear a little bit about what's been going on with the company. They would have IPO'd a few months ago. Well, I think it's close to a year now. So we wanted to get an update about what's happening with the company. But I've heard of a recent acquisition. We're very excited to learn more about that. And we would have taken some questions from you, our community members, to just find out as much as we can about Spur Spice as a company. So I'm very, very excited about this interview. I'm sure you are as well. So let's just roll the intro.
Learning is the key to successful investing. And who doesn't want to invest in some way?
Here at L.E.A.R.N Invest, we focus on financial education, all with the aim of sharing our knowledge on personal finance, investing, and building wealth. We do this on the foundation of our faith in God.
If a more holistic approach is what you need, check out our Grow Faith-based financial coaching program.
Find out more about us at learngrowinvestclub.com
and follow us on all social media platforms at Learn Grow Invest.
All right, great. Let us pray. Thank you, Lord, so much for this day. Thank you for the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that you've given us and the ability to produce wealth. We pray that this will be a meaningful and fruitful session in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, everyone, it's good to see you. I am going to welcome Albert. Hi, Albert. How are you?
I'm doing well, Jermaine. Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
I am doing well. As you can see, I'm very, very excited. We've been trying to get this interview together for a while. Our community members are extremely excited, and I think we're gonna have a great discussion.
Yeah, we have been a little bit busy, as you can see, with some stuff.
Yes, so good busy.
It's good to be here. I think this is the best time to be here, so it worked out all right.
I agree with that. So when it finally came through, I was like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right. So what we'll do, we would have sent you a series of questions, and what we want to do is kind of take it through a natural progression. So you'd have IPO'd recently, and you'd have mentioned some use of proceeds. You had some plans as to how you wanted to use those funds. So I wanted us to talk about that a little bit. You mentioned three things in your prospectus: liquidating existing debt. So wanted to get a status on that. Invitation fees, of course, as normal. So I don't think we need to comment on that one. And you'd have mentioned, increasing your capacity, building for growth and expansion. So can you, let us know how things have been since then?
I think we're pretty advanced on all three. We did liquidate the debt. Obviously, we have to pay the fees. So
yes, exactly.
Right. So that was done. And we liquidated all the debt that we had at that time. And we went about building capacity, not just in Spur Spices, but as you well know, and was a part of our prospectus, that we had purchased exotic products.
Yes.
And so part of the plan was to build out the infrastructure in that company. So, we have essentially invested proceeds exactly how we had laid it out in the prospectus.
Okay, so all the funds are used up to this point?
I would say with all the things that we are doing, yes, we have used up the funds. If you go back to it, I think we raised about $334 million, right? Which about $160 million was earmarked for repayment of debt. So it was not an excessively large amount that was left for the other stuff. So, and we have been working hard to ensure that we build capacity in both companies, as I said before.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll get to a little bit of the recent news soon. I just wanted to hear a little bit more about exotic products. Have you fully integrated them? I know the mention in your last financials is that I'll let you say it. What's the status in terms of that integration with exotic products?
Well, I want to bring to you and the audience that our relationship with Exotic Products did not start when we acquired the company. We have been working as partners, with Exotic Products for a number of years. So we're pretty familiar with that company and all its activities. And so it was a kind of seamless transition when we purchased it, having worked with them for over 4 years in terms of providing assistance and in various forms. So I was particularly familiar with the company and has been working with the company. So it was just a natural progression in terms of what was discussed all those years ago. So we realized that when we were able to fully acquire the company, that was a big goal, but it took a lot of work previously to get to that point. So yes, the company is fully integrated into our operations.
Okay, so that of course lends. So based on how you just answered that question, are there any other companies that you're working with closely now that maybe down the line we could see a similar integration?
Well, there are always possibility. One of the things that I will say about Spur Tree Spice is we are very ambitious and we are very strategic, and we see this company as being a big player in this food sector for many years to come, and we are pretty clear on our objectives. And that's one of the things that I will say to our investors. This is not just about a short-term thing for us, right? It's really about the medium and long term. That is where our focus is, as you can see in terms of our recent acquisition. It's strategic moves like those we intend on making in the market for the long term development of the Spur Tree Spices brand, and by extension other brands that we might become associated with.
Okay, so in terms of in a recent interview, I heard you mention a factory expansion for Exotic Products. What's the status of that expansion?
So I'll give you two things on that. So one of the things that we have done is to expand the production capacity at Exotic Products. So that was earmarked in terms of one of our strategic objectives for this year. As you know, Ackee is important. We see that as a very strategic product for us moving forward, and we are really investing heavily in Ackee because you have excess demand in the market, and I don't think that we are going to catch up with that demand anytime soon. So it makes sense for us to spend our money where we think the demand is high and it's excess, and you have excess demand in the market. So we have actually added I think about 6,000 square foot of building to put on a second line at Exotic production line, and that is completed, and now we have purchased equipment, and so we are at the point where we are going to be installing equipment so we can do that in time for the next crop. So that is what is done. But in support of that, we also purchased a building from Factories Corporation out there in Port Morant, which is not too far. It's about 8 miles from the existing factory, to support the operation at that factory, because in that area you also have good amount of Ackee, and so we're using that strategically to support that factory, because our goal is to, over the medium term, the short to medium term, to double production at Exotic Products.
Okay. So you mentioned you wanting to complete in time for the next crop. When would that be?
Well, we're thinking that we should be up and running fully somewhere about November, end of November. So, normally you have a crop going from about December into February. So we want to be up and running so that we can capitalize on that crop.
Okay, awesome. So that's very close to where we are now. So awesome stuff. All right, so you did mention the recent acquisition, so let's talk about that now. So we saw news of a 51% stake in Canco Limited. Can you tell us about that? What do you expect from the acquisition, and how do you see things progressing maybe over the next 3 to 6 months?
Well, I tell you something that we have been working on this for about 6 months, right? So it was hard work, but good work, good strategic work. We went through a vigorous bidding process, right? There are a number of players, and when I say number of players, number of larger companies than Spur Spices, not just local but international. But I think that our particular strategy and approach is what allowed us to become the preferred bidder. And so we are very, very proud of the work that we have done there. And I think because we also have experience in this area, which is Aki, because that is their primary product right now. But what I'm excited about is not just being able to be selected as the preferred bidder, but I'm really excited about the prospect of working with the team, the McDonald's, who founded Canco 36 years ago. It's a wonderful family, and in particular, Linstead Market brand. Everybody who knows the Linstead Market brand will see certain synergies and certain, just strategic alignment with Spur Spices. And it's a brand of high quality and, just excellent product range and high quality products. So, that is why we're attractive to it. And I tell you something, Jeremy, we are very excited about the prospect of really building out that Linstead Market brand and to make it become a world beater. So, that has a lot of potential in terms of this investment. And that's something that we are chopping at the bits for to work with.
When you said the McDonald's, I thought you were talking about me and my wife. So,
well, the truth of the matter is that there could be some connection there that you have not revealed.
maybe, definitely worth exploring. So, in terms of building out those additional product lines for the brand, how soon would we maybe see a new product launch for the?
What is happening now? So we have just closed the deal, and we are set up a period of a 6-month transitional time to really transition the business to where we want it to go. And during that time, some of the areas that we are working on is the addition of new product line. Well, let me not say new product lines, because Canco have one of the things that attracted us when we look at the information that was provided during the bid are some of the wonderful products that they have developed that have not yet gone to market. And some of the products that are already in the market but have not really, gotten the reach or attained the potential that is there in those products. So we want to build those out, but we also will be looking at building out the capacity, adding increased capacity to the factory. It's a lovely factory that they have out here in St. Thomas, but we want to put on additional lines that we are doing, just many of those things that are already on the table and have not yet been brought to market.
Okay.
And also increase the presence of those that are already in the marketplace. So that you should see us working on immediately, and you will be hearing more about new products being rolled out under the Linstead Market brand, the wonderful Linstead Market brand, in short order.
That was going to be one of my questions. Were you going to either integrate on the Spur brand, or were you going to maintain the Linstead Market brand? Okay.
We're definitely going to maintain the Linstead Market brand. We believe it is an iconic Jamaican brand with tremendous potential, just known for high quality products, and that is strategically aligned to our own vision as a company to really promote Jamaica. And I'll tell you something else that we find a lot of synergy and similarity in is that over 90% of what is produced by both companies is produced for the export market. So, we're heavy export oriented companies.
Okay. So how soon could could we expect this acquisition to be reflected in your financials? Should it be about the same timeline as for Exotic, around 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, yes, definitely it will be. I mean, you might see stuff coming out in the fourth quarter.
Okay. Any idea as to what current, revenues are, profitability, etc., for the company?
Well, uh, the revenues are lower than Spur Tree Spices at this time,
Okay.
but as I indicated earlier, that I believe that we can get that company on par with Spur Tree Spices, in the medium term, because the potential is there, the products are there, the brand is strong, and it is loved by customers worldwide. So we're excited about that potential.
Okay, great. Thank you. And okay, I think that's it related to there. So we had you would have released your Q2 financials earlier in August. So we had some questions coming out of the release of that report. So I wanted to go through those for a few moments. So you mentioned a shortage. Your provider of cans, they had some issues in terms of production, and that led to some challenges there. So two questions coming out of this: what would have been the cause of the shortage, and do you think it will happen again?
Well, the issue with cans, and there's just one factory locally that produce can, and that's the reality that we deal with, right? They are normally very reliable, so I will come here and say that was an extraordinary situation. They are a very reliable company. We have an excellent relationship, and that is Crown Distributors, Crown Packaging, I mean. So that was an extraordinary situation. They gave their reasons as to why the situation occurred. What happened with a lot of these companies is that you have to kind of buy, products on the future market, right? And so when you have already put in your expected order, it's very difficult to change, or to get that adjusted in time when you realize that you might have more demand than
Okay.
than you have actually booked or purchased already. So, but they have assured us that that situation has been fixed, and we will not see that situation going forward. And we have had a crop since that, and we had consistent supply during that time. So I would think that they have lived up to their promise as far as that is concerned.
Okay, and no plans to either, you know, acquire a company similar nature, so you don't have to worry about, I guess, those challenges of, you know.
Well, let me say this, right? What we're trying to do right now, if you look at our investment priorities, we're trying to build the base in terms of the core products that we want to get to market. That is where we're focusing right now. So most of the discussions that we're having now, it's around those core products of building out brands, because that's what we want to do, drive export. We are also looking at ways to mitigate the risk in terms of the supply side of the business. So we're doing that. And we'll definitely probably not cans, but some other raw material. We might look at an integrated approach in terms of how do we manage our the supply side of our business. So we're quite open to that, and that's something. But we have put in place significant measures to mitigate that. Right now, years ago, not just now, but before we went to market, we actually have about a 15,000 square foot of space that we just store products, because we are especially in the seasoning and sauces side of the business, there's some amount of vulnerability there, but we have eliminated that by doing a lot of pre-processing and storing of all the raw material ingredients. So, so we have always been looking at ways to mitigate the risk factor as far as the supply side is concerned. And to the extent that most of our distributors, feel comfortable in sending an order to us on a Monday morning and expect it to be at the port by Friday, and we have always delivered because we have put in those risk mitigation strategies some time ago. But we'll continue to look at ways to improve always.
Okay. So on that note, so this is not related to the Q2 financials, but we're in the middle of our hurricane season here in Jamaica. So has weather impacted any of your operations so far, and also we've been hearing challenges of challenges in the area of shipping and logistics. Have you experienced any of those challenges at Spur?
Okay, let me take the first one, which is the weather situation. That, as I said, that a lot of the raw material that we use, fresh, pepper, thyme, scallion, all of that, there's some amount of vulnerability in that. But at any point in time, we might have about 4 to 6 months of raw material supply, pre-processed and held. So it gives us that opportunity, even if there is an adverse weather situation, it gives us the opportunity to continue to supply the market, and because these are short crops, then they can be replanted, and we can be back in business as far as the supply side is concerned within the time frame which it would take us to use up our raw materials. So as I said, from a risk mitigation strategy standpoint, we have done that. The second question was, can you remind me?
Shipping and
logistics, right?
We have been mentioning some challenges there.
Right. So there are always challenges with that. Other than cans, one of the things that we don't have any production at all for in Jamaica is glass bottles. And so that is dependent holistically on importation of goods. So we have had a major challenge with that. And because of that, we have had to be really investing in carrying higher inventory so that, they mitigate the risk. So that's the only way we can overcome that. And, the shipping costs was not only the logistics in terms of the uncertainty of when you will get the goods, but the costs, quadruple in recent times. We're seeing some indication now that the costs are coming down, which is very welcome.
Yeah.
And we just hope that, that trend continue in the months to come.
Okay, great. All right, so you also mentioned in the report not being able to attain your revenue targets for Q2. What's the outlook for Q3 and the remainder of the year?
Well, I think that you understand the can situation provided was a catalyst for, I think, because we had a very good Q1.
Yes.
Yes, in fact, we beat our revision target by 40%. Q2 was not as good because of the can situation. Q3, I think the numbers are coming out, but I would say reasonable. And we're expecting to have even a better Q4 because, the work that we are doing in the market. And so we're going to have a good year. But I will always emphasize, I know a lot of investors like to hear about the short term, but we have a lot of investors. I know one of your questions is about how many investors. We have about 5,400 shareholders, right? And I know one of the things is about the short term. But I will say to you that yes, we are working assiduously and ensuring that the short term provide very reasonable returns, but our goal is really about the medium and long term, to really build capacity and to really get to a place of dominance in the market. And, we have a strategy. We're clear on what we want to achieve. The brand is strong, and, we're working assiduously to find those strategic alignments in order to maximize our strategic our objectives. So yes, short term will always produce reasonably good short term results, and we're conscious of that, and we're conscious that our shareholders are very, very eager to see every quarter how the numbers look. But we are also working at the same time to ensure that we build long-term sustainable results for our shareholders.
Fair enough. So the reason why, so the way that I see it, and I understand definitely the comments there. For us as a community, and I speak on behalf of our over 2,400 members, the challenge for us is usually the abundance of information on the day-to-day, quarter-to-quarter performance of the company.
Yes.
Right? So we don't have that abundance of information, so we usually try to cover all of our bases in terms of questions. So there are some persons interested in short term, there are some interested in medium term, and some long term. So we're trying to answer everyone's questions all
Definitely, and I appreciate that. And as I said, that we are focused on the short term, and trying to get the best result we can quarter by quarter. But beneath all of that, what we are looking is to build a world-class company, a world-class brand that every shareholder will be proud of, not just in terms of just how the company is viewed, but in terms of the results that we produce for our shareholders.
Definitely. All right. So your report also mentioned a distribution agreement with Massey, and it also said that the agreement was said to be exploring opportunities to establish Spur in other Caribbean markets. Can you speak about that partnership? What were the details, and how do you project that partnership going in the, let's say, the mid to long term, and not the short term?
No, we can speak about short term too.
Okay.
So we're very excited. We're very excited about the partnership with Massey. They have been wonderful partners for the few months that we have come together, and we have done some good work here in the local market. We're at Denby, and we did very well at Denby. We did a road show in Price Mart. That was excellent. So I am very, very, very happy with the partnership with Massey. And when I say I, by extension, everybody here at Spur Spices. And we are at the stage now, based on the results that we have gotten from the first couple of months of that relationship. We're at the stage where we're now discussing the expansion. We're seriously now advancing the expansion into the Caribbean region. So that is what the discussion is focused on, while growing the Jamaican market here, but also now taking the brand to the Caribbean. So you should see over the next couple of months a lot more information coming out about Spur Spices being in a number of Caribbean territories.
Is it safe to say that it's likely that those list of countries will be ones where Massey already has an established presence?
Well, I would say yes, but based on the discussion also, what you have is a setup where they have established a separate distribution company that is not just targeting Massey related stores. They have a lot of stores in the Caribbean, but they're targeting the entire Caribbean region. So that's the good thing about that.
Okay, great. All right. So just two more questions related to your most recent report. So what are your cost reduction strategies going forward? And finally, how do you see demand? There was a mention of softening of demand. Was that related to specific products? And how do you see that demand going forward into your Q3 and Q4? Well, we're almost done with Q3, but just to comment on those two things to close out questions relating to your most recent report.
Okay, so let me take the last one which one do you want to take first?
Either works.
So the market, as everybody knows, right? And I think this is common information. The market is a little bit soft because of the high inflation and high interest rate regime, and that's a worldwide phenomenon. That's not something that is unique to Spur or anybody else. And so that is what we refer to in terms of position in the market. Now people are a little bit tentative in terms of whether there'll be a recession or not, and so they're kind of a bit conservative as far as their spending is concerned. And that the cost of money is a little bit higher right now. But the good thing about it, we're in the food industry, and probably that is going to be the last thing that is traded off in terms of and what we found out during the COVID period, and when we did very well, is that what people tend to do is to cook more at home when money is short or there's uncertainty in the market. So and we fill that space very well. So while that those scenario exists, we're working hard in the market, and we're pretty confident that we're going to have a good fourth quarter going into next year. So yes, there's a bit of dampening, but we're pretty optimistic in terms of our own potential and reach in the market.
Okay. And final question would have been your cost reduction strategies.
Okay, on the cost reduction, we are always focused on costs, and there are a number of cost reduction strategies that we have employed. And I alluded to some earlier in terms of, we are now a larger company, so we are looking to buy better in terms of taking advantage of our economies of scale to do that. So that we are doing that. We are looking at efficiencies in our factory, building out and looking at better equipment, bigger capacity equipment, that can give you greater efficiencies. We're looking at, how we purchase, because part of it, not just from an economies of scale, but in just to buy wisely. And even when we buy, to make sure that we're buying at the right price, because we understand the fluctuation in price in the market for certain products. So we might have to buy and hold a little longer, but we work out our costs around that and make those decisions. So we are always very conscious of cost. One of the things that you'll know is that with the high inflation situation that prevails, you have to be very careful now in terms of what kind of increases that you're passing on to customers because of that dampening of demand. So you have to be very, very conscious about ensuring that your costs are maintained at a lower level.
Okay. All right. So just a few more questions to close out our initial set of questions. I've been seeing some questions coming up in the chat, so we'll get to those shortly. In terms of, so one of the things, you do have a few investors from our community who invest for dividends. What Spurtree's stance on the possibility of a dividend for this year? And well, let's start with that one.
Okay, so our prospectus did speak to this, right? So it says that the company will pay up to 25% of earnings for dividends based on our strategic objectives at the time. The board will meet to review the third quarter results. As I said, we're still putting that together and seeing where that will come out. And then they'll speak to that. So we'll see what happens. But we are very mindful of because this is a question that we have been asked many times, of the shareholders' interest in dividends. And we're going to, I think as a company, we'll honor our commitment in terms of what we put in our prospectus. We have to balance that against our investment objectives to make sure that we also have cash to invest in the growth opportunities that are there. But we also have to, just listen to our shareholders and make sure that we're giving credence to their needs from that perspective also. So I think you should hear something after the board meeting
Okay.
that is coming up, I think, next month.
Okay. Perfect. I was going to ask you for a timeline, so thank you for that. All right. So you mentioned your shareholder base already. That was one of the things that we wanted to get an understanding of. So you mentioned about 5,400 shareholders. In terms of
It's a broad base.
yes, yes. So is we wanted to know as well, so apart from the recent acquisition, should we expect any more news of acquisitions by the end of this calendar year? Is that something you have possibly on your radar?
Let's say this. I cannot predict when we will make any other announcement, but I will just say that we are always having discussions. That is what I can say. We are having discussions and various opportunities. So we'll see what happens. But one thing you will always know with us here at Spur, we are very ambitious and we are very clear as to what we want to achieve as a company. And we are also aggressive. So we are always looking for opportunities and we are having discussions and always having discussions. So there are some potential things that we are discussing. As to if and when those are going to materialize, I cannot speak specifically to that now, but be assured that we're having discussions.
Okay. All right. And final set of questions from us in terms of plans for Caribbean and worldwide expansion. What are your plans for the next 3 to 5 years for Spur Trees?
Well, so I would like for us to discuss not just Spur Trees. So there are two brands that we'll be really pushing in terms of our worldwide strategy, right? So one of the things that and let me say something about Linstead Market now, that Linstead Market brand, they have the distributor who is the second largest ethnic distributor in the United States. So they have huge access to market. So there's a lot of opportunity there, and that's one of the things that attracted us to this investment. So there's a lot of opportunity there to grow both brands. So I just want to point out, so it's not just the Spur Tree brand that we're looking at growing, but it's also now the Linstead Market brand. We will continue to expand in the largest market, which is the United States of America, because I believe the opportunities there are great. But we are simultaneously working, and right now we're having some discussions about expanding in Canada and discussions about expanding in the UK. And we already spoke about the expansion in the Caribbean. So those are the three areas that we're really focused on. And in as much as we are doing that for Spur, we'll be looking for opportunities also to expand the Linstead Market brand in those areas.
Okay. Any other strategic partnerships that we can expect to see for you over the next few years?
Definitely, that's where we're having discussions. So we're not just looking at outright acquisitions, because sometimes you find great value in these kind of partnerships, like we found with Linstead, with the Canco/Linstead Market situation here, where you have partners who can also bring value. So you're not starting from scratch. You're not putting too much pressure on the existing spiritual resources, right? So we're looking for opportunities that align with our strategic objective going forward. So it could be outright acquisitions, but these type of partnerships we are also open to. But definitely you'll hear more about other opportunities that we are working on.
So without giving any specifics, are there any, let's say, so you mentioned, for example,
Careful, Jeremy.
to glass. Sorry?
I said, be careful, Jeremy.
Well, so what I'm trying to do is ask the question and allow you to answer without giving any specifics, because I figure specifics may pose a challenge. Oh, so I'll ask it and you let me know whether or not you can answer it. So the question I
Right,
was going to ask.
I'm messing with you.
Okay. So similarly to how you mentioned, opportunities, for example, in terms of the glass that you would need to as a part of your, packaging, etc. Are there any other, elements of what you do as a company that, for example, a partnership in that area could, fuel growth even faster? Are there any such, opportunities that you see?
There's one specific one, but I can't speak to it
Okay.
openly right now. So we have had some initial discussions about that, and that is in alignment with what you just spoke about. But as I said, some of these discussions are pretty early, and we really can't speak to specifics at this point in time. But yes, there's one specific one that aligns with what you have just outlined
Okay.
here.
All right.
So we're having a number of discussions. That's what I'm saying. So,
Okay.
but we'll always the thing, and I keep emphasizing this. This issue with linseed market took us 6 months,
Yeah.
right? And so these things do take time. They do take time, but Spur will always be looking for opportunities and having discussions. One thing we always say to people: let's talk, right? And sometimes those discussions, turn out to an acquisition or an investment in a business, and sometimes they don't materialize further, and then you move on to the next opportunity. But we're always having discussions because we're looking for ways to grow this brand and to develop the products that we have and to expand the market and to build efficiencies in the business and to control the supply side of the business a little bit better. So all of those things we are looking at strategically and having discussions around those, and those are major priorities for us.
Okay. Okay. So in terms of market location, where do you think presents the biggest opportunity for you? Like, is there a country that you're not in now that you would love to, maybe the next time we have a conversation to say that, we are making progress in distributing for that country? Are there any such territories or countries that you see as a great opportunity?
Okay, there are a lot of places I could list right now to say, yes, we think that our products will do well here. But let me be truthful to you. In terms of the markets that we are in some of the biggest markets in the world, and the opportunities that exist there for us right now. It makes perfect sense for us to build out the opportunities in those markets because we are there. We understand the market to a certain extent, but it's just expanding the reach and to make sure our products are reaching customers that they are not reaching right now, because the products are loved in the market. So it is much easier for us and much more cost efficient for us
Yeah.
to really invest in the existing market because there's a lot of room for growth in those markets. So that's where our focus is. If
Okay.
there's a market that comes up and we have a good strategic partner to work with and to establish ourselves in that new market, yes, we are always open to that. But I'll be frank with you, we see our best growth opportunity right now in the existing markets.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let us go through some of the questions from the chat. I'm seeing quite a few. We should have enough time though. So let me see. So Damani is saying with Kanko being a special economic zone entity, any benefits from that are can be brought into Spur? Are there any benefits of them having that status?
Well, not immediately. And what we need to do, though, is to ensure that Canco is capitalizing on those benefits. And that's part of our strategic objective there, is to first ensure that Canco is benefiting from those as we build out that company and that brand and the Lindsay Market brand. So that's the immediate objective there. In terms of benefits for Spur, we will look at those and to see if we can derive any from that. But let's probably say that it is not. Don't think it unusual if you see some cross listing of products over both lines, right? Let's put it like that.
Okay.
So, but we want to capitalize the and maximize the potential of both brands. So you might see some cross listing and some collaboration across companies. So
Great. All right, so blue collar finance. So I think I understand what he's asking. So he says, I think this was relating to we're talking about Canco. Do you believe there's a possibility that you might have paid too much since you had to engage in a bidding war for Canco?
I don't think so, because we were pretty clear on our objectives. And I seriously, Jermaine, can't speak right now to what our long-term strategy is. But believe me, in terms of what I'm saying to you now, there are some exciting long-term strategic objectives for this brand, right? I can't speak to all of that, but everything was aligned in terms of our approach to our bid. I just don't think it was, we won the bid based on just cash, but we won the bid based on our approach to the bid in terms of forming the strategic partnership with the previous owners, and also what we set out before them in terms of our vision for this company and what we want to achieve within the medium term. And I think that is what they bought into, that vision, and I think that is why we were the successful bidder. So it was not just, I believe, based on funds that were offered.
Okay, and I noticed that amount was not disclosed. Is that something that we'll hopefully see later, or maybe in the annual report or something to understand?
It might be possible, but what I can say to you is that how the bid is structured is that a lot of that money is going back into investing in Canco.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So that is what I can tell you. The majority of those funds are going back into investing in Canco. So we all will benefit from that.
All right. So Andrew is asking, he'd like to know, how does Spur plan to expand and grow? I think we answered that already. Andrew, let us know if the response was satisfactory, but I think we covered that already. So Blue Collar Finance is asking again, referring to your Q2 where it mentioned you wanted to expand locally. I don't actually think we touched on that. Given the high competition in the local market, how will Spur steal market from the existing players? Steal market share from existing players?
Well, I'll tell you something, Blue Collar Finance. A few years ago, Spur was really established to gain business in the overseas market, right? That's it. We're established as a manufacturing company with an export objective. And so our first order was to send to American to try and really geared more so at food service. Then we expand into retail and stuff like that. And we looked at the local market after a while and say, something, we have to kind of pull back and establish ourselves also in the local market. Because it would have been about 7-8 years and no focus on the local market, and we did that. And this year, for the first 6 months, our sales in the local market went up by over 50%. So I just put that out there, and that was before Massey came on board. So we are confident in the products that we have, and we'll be adding additional products to the line geared specifically for the local market. So, we're pretty confident in our system to deliver quality product at a reasonable price. And, so we believe we can compete with everybody. And, but also realize that the local market is growing. Also realize that there is a lot of importation that is taking place in the local market. And if us as local producers can focus on, producing items that will substitute for some of these imported items, there's a huge opportunity to expand our growth in the market. So that's kind of our approach, that we're looking at it in a more broader sense rather than to say, okay, I want to get business from another local producer. We want all of us to survive and grow. But if we can come together and to say, listen, most of what we consume is imported. How can we create products that are going to now substitute for those imports? That's what we really need to focus on.
Yeah, I love that strategy. All right, Yamfoot is saying, well, showing some love. I just love this brand and its products.
Thank you very much for that. You
Definitely.
do sound like one of our customers. They always say that.
Yeah. So let's see, next question from Blue Collar Finance. Ake, like so many other Jamaican crops, is seasonal. How does Spur tree close production in its downtime? I guess, how do you bridge that gap for the seasons?
Okay, so that's a good question. So Ake production will be about 6 to 7 months. So with a Ake factory, you also have to look at what do you do in those 6 months to ensure that you're using a capacity, but also maintaining your staffing levels and stuff like that. Because although a lot of the staff are seasonal staff, but you want to maintain your core set of staff. So that's part of the reasons why you expand. We do a lot of callaloo, and that is supporting our local farmers, not just outside of the crop, but also inside of the crop to keep them going. That is why we have to put on additional lines, but we also will be rolling out other products. There are some excellent product ideas that we have on the table and have developed some, and we'll be rolling out to ensure that we are maximizing output, whether it's in crop or out of crop. So that's a good question, and so that our strategy is aligned to delivering exactly that.
Okay. All right. Marcel says, will Linstead market be the premium product and Spur tree maintain its status as a general consumer product?
Well, let's say that depends. What we like to think that Spur tree is a premium product from a quality standpoint, right? So if you mean from a price standpoint, we have not positioned ourselves in the market as a premium brand from a price standpoint, but from a quality standpoint, we have always positioned ourselves as a high quality, high premium quality product. So I want to make that clarification there before I answer the question. No, and we won't necessarily want to push Linstead market as a premium in terms of a high price. What we want both brands to do is to kind of find that same threshold in terms of the value proposition for Spur tree spices is quality, convenient product offered at a reasonable price. And the value proposition for Linstead market is similar, right? Okay. So what we are going to look for is high quality product that people can afford and is conveniently offered. So, one of the things we understand that people are very busy, and we want to save them time. If you look at our all-in-one seasonings, that was the concept around it. We like to say just rub on and cook. You don't have no time, just rub on and cook. And so we'll be looking for stuff under both portfolios to deliver this kind of value for our customers. But as I said, some products might be cross-listed, but there'll be a lot of product differentiation under both brands.
Okay. Great. So Marcel, I think we might have mentioned this one already. He was saying, I hear that there will be a push to expand within the Caribbean. So what is the prospect for the US, especially on the East Coast?
We are heavy when it comes to the East Coast. If you go into that market, a lot of people go into that market who tell them that boy Spur is dominating that market, right? So our push right now is to go beyond the Eastern Seaboard in the United States, because we're heavy in that. As far as the Eastern Seaboard is concerned, what we are looking at now is rolling out additional value-added products, right? So the market, because we are so well known and the brand is so loved in that region, what we find is that supermarket chains are offering us more space. So what we have to do now to capitalize on that is to put out additional lines. And so we are working on that in order to capitalize on that. And I want to say to you, one of the largest supermarket chains, Stop and Shop, have over 500 stores in the United States. We just got into them and we started in June. And by the end of October, we'll have rolled out in 10 stores, right? So we're going at a pretty fast clip. And that is because they are really excited about the return and the investment. And so they're giving us opportunity to roll out in a lot more stores. So this augurs well for the brand. And we're excited about that prospect.
Perfect. So that right there that you just mentioned is perfectly the kind of information that I say we would love to have as potential investors, because then those updates will give us an understanding as to how the company may be growing over the next few months. So very.
So our marketing manager, who you know well, Rani, she will put out all of that information as time progresses. But so we'll be talking to our customers in terms of, giving them direct updates in terms of what is new, right?
All right. So Devon is asking, have you begun to assess the impact of the data breach that happened with Massey?
Well, I noticed, and I want to clarify here, I noticed that persons on Twitter were linking us to the data breach with Massey, and there was some misinformation out there that this was affecting us. So I want to just make it clear. It absolutely had no impact on us. Massey is our business partner, and we saw the news release that they sent out that everything is back to order, and we just wish them well with that. We here ourselves are very, very conscious of protecting our data, but in this case we were not affected, and we just have to use this, as every company should do, as a learning experience to ensure that our systems are very strong and resilient against such actions.
Okay. Well, thank you for clarifying that. I definitely saw that conversation as well. So you clearing that up is definitely helpful. All right. Nicole is saying that she thinks that you should expand to the African continent. Any thoughts on that?
Hi, Nicole, my good friend Nicole Bailey. Yes, Nicole, we'll get there. We'll get there. I promise you we'll get there. I know there's a lot of potential in Africa, and we'll definitely get there. This is an international brand, and it should be everywhere that people, eat, and want good food. And that's what we want to provide. So we'll get to Africa. It's the motherland, and the motherland needs some real good Jamaican food.
Agreed. So she goes on to say there are more Jamaicans and Caribbean nationals making Africa their home. So definitely agree with her there. All right, Limitless Podcast is asking if you'd consider a spin-off of Canco. That smile says a lot,
It's a good question. Strategically, we'll talk more about that at some future point in time. But it's a good question.
Okay, all right. Aline is asking, how is the company positioning itself to face a pending recession?
Well, a part of the thing where, as I said, we just came out of COVID. COVID has taught us a lot of lessons. Uh, One of the things that we have done, and we have done recently, we have gone back heavily into the market to ensure that, you know, customers who are buying these products are considering first the first Spur as their first choice. And so we're doing a lot of promotion in existing areas that but also in some new areas. So, you know, every company has to decide what their strategy is to ensure that their products are first of choice when it comes to people will be buying. There's a recession, but people are going to eat. And so you have to make sure that you're upfront and people are seeing you and people are choosing your products. And that's what we are doing. One of the things I will say to you, Jeremy, and this has been a long-standing position that we have taken. We are a manufacturer, and the typical manufacturer and exporter will just send your products to a distributor. But we have never taken that approach to the market. When we discuss with distributors, all we say to you, you get them to the retailer, we'll be in the stores doing the work to ensure that the retailers are happy with the investment that they have made in giving us the shelf space. And that is why Spur has grown so rapidly over these years. We don't depend on the distributor to deal with our marketing side. So we're aggressive in the market and we'll continue to be aggressive in the market. You know, a lot of our money is spent back in the market and that replicates and increases the demand for our products. So yes, there will be but you know, somebody say a pending recession. There could be a recession. You know, we are not certain yet, but you know, we have some issues that we're dealing with. But we are confident that our strategic approach to the market, we will be able to maintain a strong presence, and you know, our revenue will continue to grow.
Okay. So L.E.A.R.N actually goes further on that same question and say, how will, so based on the same question about possible recession, well, no, let me skip that question because I think you kind of answered the second part as well already. So he goes on to say, Spur will now become a part of my portfolio, and you know, he seems to be very, you know, happy with your response.
Thank you for that.
You know, Razor Blade CEO. So I guess he's happy with everything that you've said so far. All right, just a couple more questions here. So Elaine again is asking, what is the emphasis like for RDA at Spur? I'm not sure what RDA means here.
I'm trying to figure that out myself.
Can you explain that, Elaine, what's RDA? I thought maybe that was a term I didn't understand, but you might have known. ETL Beats, thank you. Do like the video, guys. We really would appreciate it. It helps us grow as a channel, the more you like the video. So please do. Elaine, kindly explain what RDA means so that we know how to answer that question. Emrata says you're really instilling confidence in the company. So great presenter. We agree with that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Devon is asking, will there be an equity raise considered to pay for the Canco acquisition?
We not at this point in time. We have obviously the deal is already done and we had to deal with the financing of the deal. But in terms of raising additional equity, that is something that I think that's a possibility, especially if the discussions around increasing the share capital limit for the companies and the JC, if those materialize. So obviously we'll look at that when that comes.
Okay. All right. So we understand what he's asking now. He said it's actually R&D. So what's the emphasis on research and development at Spur? Yeah.
Okay. So that's important because you know one of the most important thing is our innovation calendar. And I'll tell you that we have a very long and exciting innovation calendar in terms of product development. We are always doing research. In fact, there's a relationship that we are now establishing. We just had a meeting with the Scientific Research Council to build a stronger relationship with them to utilize their skills in this area. And we'll be having another meeting next week because they have a lot of good skill set as far as this is concerned. So we want to combine that with our own internal process to continue to roll out exciting products for the market. Because as I said, we want to make sure that this brand is strong, is growing, and in the years to come will dominate the market. So that's very important to what we do.
Okay. And the final question that I'm seeing, the rest of it is just, persons showing love in the chat. So thank you guys so much for being here and showing your support. I said to Rani when we reached out that Spur is a community favorite. So one of the things that we used to do, we haven't done it in a while, but persons would normally share their dinner on Sundays with their Spur spices, or they're shopping in the supermarket, purchasing the product, stuff like that. So it's definitely a community favorite here at L.E.A.R.N.
We're thankful. We are so thankful to all our customers. And what is happening now is that a lot of our customers have become shareholders, and that was one of the things that we're very excited about going to market. Our staff, our customers, will now become shareholders in this company, and that is what we want to continue to grow. As I said, we're up to 5,400 shareholders, and we expect to see that number grow as we continue to work hard and assiduously for you all. So thank you very much for the support. Every time you go into the supermarket and you pick up the best quality product out there, we thank you. We try and make it as easy and convenient for you, and we're not done yet. As some people will say, we just a come. There's a lot more to be done, and we're happy that you're on this journey with us. We are very thankful for all your support.
Awesome. So I said two questions kind of snuck under the finish line there. So first one is from CG19. Say you have a ackee tree, how do farmers get to sell to Spur tree?
Okay, so just call this the exotic product. Jamaica Limited is the ackee producing company, or Canco. So call any of those companies and they will make arrangement to purchase your ackee. We are always interested in purchasing ackee. If you cannot get to them, call us here at Spur Spices and we will put you on to them. So, and one of the things I also want to mention, Jeremy, we are serious about ackee, and we are in the process of doing an ackee orchard with over 3,000 plants that we have already secured. We have planted most of them already, and in the process of planting out the rest. So we are a very serious company about, not, as I said, not just the short term, but the long term. And we thank the customers and our shareholders for having the confidence in us.
I've taken my ackee tree for granted. I must say my wife is not happy about that because she'll always ask me for ackee, but I don't always remember to go and pick the ackee. So,
remember this, ackee is a significant part and the local part of the Jamaican national dish.
Yes.
Right? And, we like to introduce people to Jamaica about the sunshine and the beaches and the music, but we have to introduce them to the national dish too. Right? And so that is why we're investing in that. That's a significant growth area for us.
Yeah. And very final question is, the one that is asking, will the company employee stock purchase program?
That is something that we have to look at. But remember, when we went to market, probably Devon probably doesn't know this, but when we went to market, we gave every single employee in this company shares free of cost.
Ah,
Right?
okay.
We did
Actually,
that.
didn't know that. I know that there was about 10 million, I believe, available for employees to purchase
Right.
from. I didn't know they got shares.
Yes, man. Every single employee became a shareholder in this company, and they didn't, so they got a certain amount free of cost, and then they had an option to purchase more if they so desired. So,
Ah, awesome.
yes. So we are very, very careful to ensure that our employees are also shareholders.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, great. Thank you so much, Albert. Usually we give CEOs the opportunity to share any final comments that they have for their potential investors. So, is there anything that you want to say in closing?
Well, I just want to say first, thanks to you for having us. I know that you have been reaching out to us for a little while, but
Yeah.
we wanted to wrap up this deal, and then I can come and talk to you in a
Makes
more
sense.
meaningful way about what we are doing. Want to thank all the shareholders who have confidence in us. As I said before, we are working assiduously to get results quarter by quarter, and but we are also putting even more greater effort in building the medium to short term results in the company. We think we are in a very good place. We are excited about where we are. We just brought out the Canco deal to the market. We are having discussion, as I said, with a number of other things, but please be excited about the prospect of what we are going to do with that linseed market brand. We cannot speak about everything right now, but with those two major brands in our hands, expect great things from this company going forward.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So thank you everyone for being here with us. Definitely asking you to like the video again. It greatly helps us. Share this video on your social media for everyone who would like to learn more about Spur. We do have some more interviews coming up, so be sure to turn on notifications for our channel. Subscribe if you have not done so already, and be sure to subscribe also to our newsletter. We'll send you summaries of the interviews and upcoming videos, etc. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you again, Albert and the Spur team,
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you.
for making this happen, and it was definitely worth the wait. So thanks again.
Appreciate it.